Hello and welcome back to a brand new vlog. My name is Orion and I make videos every single Wednesday and Sunday and post them at 6 p.m. where we are currently renovating our home ready to move back into, and the last vlog we made this. Now I've had some time to think about this build and see it again, and I'm really just not sold on it. It definitely feels kind of out of place and it looks a bit garish when it's white. So what I've done is I've gone into Photoshop and I've had a play around to see what it'd look like if we painted it green. Now this has obviously got the cushions on it as well, which is all AI generated. And I tried to stick like a table in front of it to get an idea of what it would look like with a table there, but I couldn't find a way to do that. I know there's like AR, like place this in your room thing, but I just can't seem to find an app that can do that for me. So for now, we kind of get an idea of what it will look like as green, and it still kind of looks a bit odd in the lounge, and I think it's just because it's placed there on its own. I also thought if I tried spicing it up a little bit by adding panels, it might look better. So with a bit of Photoshop, I've drawn on some panels there, and I think it looks a little bit better, but it still feels a little odd. So I tried one more thing, but I'm just not sure if it's a good idea. And that is when we paint this green, we continue it all the way around this bar here, around here, and paint this. And that would look like this. Still not totally convinced. Obviously, it's Photoshop, so it's never gonna look exactly like this, but I've been playing around and I don't know until I do it. And seeing as though I've got green paint left over from this room and how good this looks, I think we save money, use the same paint here, and just hope that it turns out okay. Ultimately, I'm not trying to get too bogged down by it because, as I say, it is a practical replacement for the sofa that we had here before, and it stores a lot of stuff in it. So it is, generally speaking, better. And then when we put a dining table here, it'll all kind of tie in itself together and it'll be very, very practical. So I'm a little disappointed that it's not going to look as good as the bedroom, but it serves a purpose. And I think without further ado, we should crack open the cupboard and get our painting stuff out. So in an effort to keep things speedy, because I've got a lot to do today, this is what it looks like before, and this is what it looks like afterwards. I already feel so much better about it now that it's not white and it's got some paint on it. It most definitely is going to need a second coat on it, so whilst I wait for this to dry, we need to start moving things back into here. Which means undertaking the daunting task of emptying my corridor, which, as you might tell, is going to be no easy feat. A lot of this stuff has been dumped here, like, you know, curtains that we're probably not going to be using again, so I need to kind of sort out what's going to go in the lounge and what's going to stay in here for now until we figure out what to do with it. A lot of the furniture that we've got is black because it kind of matched the theme that we had going on here before, with obviously the bar and my desk and stuff like that. So I'm hoping it still feels okay in here. However, one thing I have considered is actually selling the TV cabinet, like sideboard that we've got that used to go into the TV right there, and we just have the TV as close to the wall as possible. I like at the moment how it feels like a really nice open space so we can do things. Obviously, when you stick a table in here and you add the sideboard, it really limits the amount of living room space you get. And for many years now, we've never really had a place to put the Christmas tree. So if we just had the TV floating on the wall, we'd have all of this living space and we could put a tree in the corner when it is Christmas. I'm kind of going for a less is more kind of aesthetic and feel to this place, and as we go it's going to develop and change over time. But for now, I'm going to start moving in the bookcase that's going to be going behind my desk, and hopefully that'll give it a nice look and finish to that area of the room, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, now that I have all of the bookcases here, I need to screw them in at the top so they stay in place. And just like that, we have the bookcases back in place. I am now considering, because I have so much plywood left over, whether I should fill that corner in. Because before, I used to have the curtain that hang there and it kind of covered up that gap there, and it also gives me a way to get behind it when I need to like feed cables around the back of it and stuff like that. But now, I'm thinking that I've got obviously like these extra sheets of plywood that it would actually go there perfectly and I could box it in. And then using some of the cabinet magnets that I've got, I could magnetize it to the wall. So if I ever need to get behind it, I could just pull it off and I could go in there. I could also cut a little sheet at the top to cover all of this stuff up there as well, but I'm not sure about that. I might actually put things up there. So I think we get the saw back out, we measure out the size we're gonna need, mark it up. We make one mighty long cut. That went well. And now hopefully it fits in there perfectly. Now I have a feeling that this is going to be quite snug because I've cut it down exactly. And so if we slot it in at the bottom, you can already feel a bit of give to it. Well, it goes in there, it's just going to need a bit of wedging around. And after a little bit of encouragement, we've got it sitting in there perfectly. And after trying out a trim with a scrap piece of wood at the top, I think if we actually put some wood up there and paint this all white, it'll actually give the impression that it's boxed in that's removable. So I think whilst I've got the saw out and I am making a little bit of a mess, I might as well get that cut down to size now and then decide whether I want to use it later. And just like that, it's done. And this is dry. So I'm going to do a bit of a clean up because I've made quite the mess. I'm going to put a second coat on that. That is much better. Now, I may have just taken a chunk out of my hand. Fiddling around in there, yeah, I've like slashed my fingers all up, which is started pissing out blood. So I've got Paw Patrol plasters on. Normally, I don't actually bother with plasters, but it was actually bleeding quite a bit, so I've had to cover it up. And with that useless piece of information, let's paint this for a second time. And I think now that it's got a second coat on it, it's looking much better. I still quite can't visualize if it's gonna look all right or not. But, I mean, it's there now, it ain't going anywhere. I also took the time to seal this so it's ready to paint white. And now that this is dry, I have cleared out the area for the TV cabinet to go back. So let's move this big old chunk back in there. And now that I'm starting to move some of the old furniture back in, it kind of just doesn't, none of it goes together. So I've come up with a bit of a crazy idea. Now, everybody keeps commenting saying that I should put like a media unit here. So my long-term plan is this. I'm going to get some more of these Billy bookcases from IKEA, and there's one that goes perfectly in the corner there. That way it will box in the corner, give us some more storage, and it will kind of shift the central point of this wall to like here. And that means I can put the TV in the center here, which will be kind of centered to where the table and you know, the seating area is going to be. So when you're sat down at the table, you can see the TV kind of in the middle. And then later on, I'll actually box it all in and create like a media unit there to go around the TV that matches up with the bookcase that goes in the corner. However, that is going to be down the line because, as I say, I'm running out of funds to kind of buy things. So what I'm going to do today, which I'm not sure is a good idea, but as I am going to get rid of this, what I'm thinking is I sand down the top because it will reveal like a wood color similar to like, you know, like pine and stuff like that, which will kind of go with the aesthetic of this side of the room because the table will be pine. And then I'm going to paint the rest of it white for now. I tried it green, but it looks a bit weird, so we're going to go with white to see how it goes. So in effect, we'll have the green bench here. We'll have a pine table that comes across here, which will tie this in, because the biggest thing about this that makes it look out of place is the fact that the table is missing. So once the table goes there, it will look fine. And then over there, we'll have a white and pine top, which will like fit with the rest of the room. And I don't have to get rid of that right now. So this is going to be a bit of a daunting task, but let's get the sander out and just go for it. Worst case scenario, it doesn't look right, but we're getting rid of it anyway, so I'm not too stressed about it. So let's get on with it. Okay, it is now the next day, and I have to say that this has to be the most strenuous thing I think I've done so far. My body is in bits from sanding down yesterday, and I've got it finished. And as you can see on screen now, I started painting the cabinet because my sander would just keep dying every like fifth of the board that I got through. So now I've kind of got, not a finished product, but close to finished. And this is what we're looking like so far. Now, the paint looks hella streaky because it's primer and I've painted over the black paint. Realistically, if you're going to do this yourself, I've kind of, one, cheaped out, and two, been a little bit lazy, because realistically, I should have scuffed up the wood before I painted it white. And then I wouldn't have ended up with such streaky like paint, which in effect looks like this at the moment. Obviously it doesn't look very good. And as I say, it's because I've not used the right primer and I used a wall brush to paint it down. But it's all going to be okay because I've gone out and I've bought some like cabinet, like it's called kitchen paint, but it's basically cabinet paint. And I've gone out and I got like a proper roller and a proper brush for brushing this stuff on to put the final coat on. When it comes down to the sanded top, it still needs like another probably sand over the top, because you can still see it looks a bit dirty. It also probably looks a little darker than it would be normally because I've just washed it with sugar soap. But yeah, you can see that there's still some black bits in it, especially around like the knots in the wood. So I need to kind of go over it again and give it another once over with a sander, which will take forever. And then once I've got it sanded down and looking like a nice finish, I need to get some, I don't know what it's called. I know what it is. It's like a lacquer that basically goes on the top to give it like a glossy finish, which will in effect protect the wood from when we put stuff on it and gives it a wipeable surface essentially. But this is what it's looking like. I think it's actually going to look all right when I'm done with it. It's just right now, it does look heavily in the middle of the process. I also forgot to paint the fucking drawers and the cabinet doors, so I need to paint those as well today. So I'm going to go and do it now. I'm not going to time lapse it all because you've seen me do it so much. So I'm just going to basically flash forward to when I get it finished. It allows me to listen to some music and chill out whilst I'm doing it, because it is agonizing work. My body, like I said, is in bits. So hopefully we can go from how it is now to a really nice finished piece of kit. And well, it has been quite a bit of time later. Several coats, a lot of sanding, and I think I'm really close to basically being done with it now. And this is what it looks like. I think it's actually turned out really well, considering I wasn't so confident about it when I first started. If I throw a picture up on screen here, this is what it looked like when I put the first coat of paint on it. And I was like, oh, I might have to scrap this idea. I was like, no, commit and trust the process. And this has been one of the most trust the process things that I've ever done. And I'm glad I stuck it out, because now it actually does look pretty good. I think just to give it that final it needs probably one more coat on it, because if you get kind of close, you can see the paint. So I think maybe one more coat will do it on there. On top here, this has been sanded down again, which has revealed like the nice tone of wood that we want. However, I used quite a rough grit to get it off, so you probably won't see it on camera so much, but it is look a little bit rough. So I need to go over with a finer sander to smooth it all out, and then I'm going to put like a lacquer on top of it, like I said earlier. But overall, I think it feels like forever ago that we painted this, let alone stripping this and painting this. So I think altogether it's come together quite nicely. I have actually also figured out on IKEA how to use like the 3D thing. So if I show another picture here, this is kind of what it looks like with a table. And I think Jess brought in some like frozen stuff to put on there from the bedroom, and it all does tie in really nicely. It has been a long and daunting task, but I think this is looking pretty good now. Next vlog, I'm going to have to put the TV up and all that other stuff, but yeah, we're getting there. At so many points during the process of this room, I've felt so doubtful of how it's going to turn out. And I think that was the key to the puzzle. Like the fact that it was black and it just didn't go with the rest of the room seemed weird. And I feel like even though like the other side of the room is got black and the kitchen's black and stuff like that, it almost divides the room and makes this feel like, a cozy, different section of the room. And that's obviously like going to be my obviously area and stuff like that. So it does actually segment the room quite nicely. Now that I've seen what our table would look like here, I'm so much more confident in how this is going to look when I put we get the upholstery on here and we get some cushions that go around the back and stuff like that. It won't look just like a big green block on the screen or in the lounge. But yeah, I'm really stoked. This has been hard work to do. And like I said, if you're going to do it yourself, then roughen up the wood first. Otherwise, you're going to need to do like several coats. It's taken me a good 4 or 5 coats of paint to get it to look like that. But guys, if you've enjoyed this vlog, please leave it a thumbs up rating. I would really appreciate it. So much effort has gone into putting this video in particular together because of how much labor time it's taken to do it all. And I'm really glad of how it turned out. So if you did like this and you think I've done a good job, then make sure you leave a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or feedback, as always, please do let me know in the comments down below. I read them all and I respond to as many as I possibly can. But as always, guys, been Orion. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new, please hit subscribe. We're on our road to 25k. But as always, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace, much love. Bye-bye.